Hey horror fans, welcome back. This is Frightener22, and this is day 6 of my 31 Frightening Days of Halloween marathon. Tonight we're going to take a look at the grand poobah, in my opinion, of all ghost stories. That's right, guys, we're talking about 1982's Poltergeist. Now, this film was actually a Steven Spielberg production, but in fact directed by Tobe Hooper of Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Eaten Alive fame. Now, over the years, it's been up to much debate as to who truly directed the film. Now, let me just give you guys a bit of facts here. Now, this film was actually, Spielberg actually created the story, co-wrote the script, and co-produced this production. In addition, he actually was working on E.T. and Poltergeist simultaneously. Once principal photography ended on Poltergeist in August of 1981, Spielberg took a few weeks off and then headed right on to E.T. But once post-production hit in early 1982, Spielberg was in complete full control of the post-production process, including the actual editing of the film, supervising the visual effects of Poltergeist and E.T. simultaneously. He was responsible for hand-selecting the composer, that being Jerry Goldsmith, as well as looking over the final mixes and the loops. So, in my opinion, at the end of the day, I think that I would say that Spielberg is really his imagination and his vision unfolding on the screen. So, I mean, I feel more comfortable calling Poltergeist a Spielberg film than an actual Hooper film. The only time that you really get a true sense of maybe the closest thing to Hooper's style is probably within the last 15 minutes of this film. In the climax where the coffins are actually rising from the grave and all the rotten corpses are coming out, which is truly one of the most phenomenal scenes in the entire film. But I think that's the only time where you get a true hint of Hooper's vision coming through. This film, I've always, as I said, I'm more than comfortable calling this a Spielberg film as opposed to a Hooper film. I find myself, walking the line on this film the same way that I do with Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas. I feel a lot of people that are really dedicated Burton fans of that film feel a lot more comfortable calling that a Burton film, being as how the story itself is his. He was the creator of all of the characters in the world of Nightmare Before Christmas, and really, supervised the whole production, when in fact, the director of the film was Henry Selick, who would later go on to direct James the Giant Peach and Coraline. But anyway, back to Poltergeist at hand. This gem from 1982 basically tells the story of a family and their house being overrun by paranormal activities such as ghosts. Now, this film, as I had stated at the start of this video, in my opinion, this is the grand poobah of ghost stories. You do not get any better than this. This is truly a fun, terrifying, engaging journey into what it must feel like if paranormal forces truly did come into your house and take away a loved one of yours. Now, I think that the film works on so many phenomenal levels. While back at the time of its release, the MPAA actually issued this film a rated R, when in fact there are no deaths, there's no fatalities, there's really no excessive amounts of gore in this film. So after, the whole production team disputed this, they actually got it knocked down to a PG rating, because at the time, the rating of PG-13 did not exist. So this film is just truly terrifying on so many levels, and just works up and down on just, a vast amount of levels. It's truly, an unbelievable achievement in, just terrifying the wits out of you, but really not, delving into the things that most people are immediately, come to mind when they think of what scares them in a horror movie. As I've said, there's no murders, there's no fatalities, there's really hardly any gore in this film. It just really relies on a suspense, adrenaline-filled roller coaster of a ride. And I think a lot of, the lasting effects of this film are really, really accredited to the beautiful work of the stellar cast that was compiled in this terrific film. And most of it, I think really stems from the performance of Jo Beth Williams, who plays the mother figure in this, and Heather O'Rourke, who plays Carol Ann, the young daughter that's actually taken by the paranormal forces in the film. And their performances are just top-notch, and you truly feel for these characters. After viewing this film tonight, yet again, for the sake of this marathon, I was getting goosebumps and chills watching the performances in this film just unfold. They are just truly some of the best. I mean, viewing this film, I think it's really safe to say that if such a paranormal event ever affected you, it really truly would not be too far off than the way it affects the Freeling family in this film. They are just confused, they're terrified, scared, and just, all around, unsure of what is happening to them in this film and what is taking over their home and trying to take away their loved one. So on that level, the performances are really, really stellar. I really cannot talk much. I could really just can't say too much more about how stellar these performances are. In addition, the wonderful casting of Zelda Rubinstein, who is actually the top paranormal investigator that is brought in to clean the house free of the paranormal forces that are taking over the Freeling house. And she brings an innocence, but yet an eeriness to the film, and that's a really rare fine line that you can see an actor or an actress actually accomplish in the limited screen time that she was actually given when you see this film. But she really does just a terrific, terrific job. Now, the more, probably one of the more interesting things about the Poltergeist film and the Poltergeist franchise universe in itself is really the backstory of what goes on. Now, I'm not really going to delve into too many specifics because that's a whole different other video, but if you guys are really interested based on what I'm about to tell you, I would highly suggest researching it because the stories behind the production of Poltergeist and its two sequels are just phenomenal and truly, truly disturbing. The unusual occurrences that were happening on the makings of these sets, the disturbing deaths and murders that were happening to people involved in the production and people that were somehow connected to the production is just, it's unsettling to say the least, and it is all very well documented in various documentaries and websites, and it truly is just eye-opening to see just how how terrifying and how close to home the production of this little old ghost movie actually struck close to the hearts of all the people that were actually working on this. As many of you, it actually it had come to be known of the Poltergeist curse, is what people were calling it. Just any time that the production of for a future Poltergeist sequel was announced, and then during the production, just really terrible and unfortunate things were happening and going wrong during the making, and even going as far as after the making of these films. So if you guys are really interested and looking for a really truly deep scare, I would highly recommend looking into the history of the Poltergeist films. So all that said, if you guys have not seen this for whatever reason, I don't know what could possibly be going through your heads, because this is the film that you guys have to check out if you are really looking for the best ghost film that you could possibly find. It's fun, it's scary, it's magical, and it's just all around engaging. You will not get bored of this movie. So if you have not seen it, I really don't know what's the matter with you, because it is such a classic film. And if you have no time like this month to bust it out and really get reacquainted with an old favorite, because this is by far the best of the best, guys. So, as always, thanks again for tuning in to my 31 Frightening Days of Halloween Marathon. I appreciate all the support and all you guys checking in. I'm having just a wonderful time doing this for you guys. So, as always, tune in tomorrow for yet another review as the frightening festivities continue all month long. Thanks again, guys. This is Frightener 22.